Okay. What was the question?
What is it like to be a Chiefs fan?
What is it like to be a Chiefs fan? What is it like to be a Chiefs fan? If you had a long week, that's okay. It's finally the weekend. We all made it. I'm Shelby Danielsen. Thanks so much for waking up with us here on Good Morning Jacksonville, with several investigations now underway and the future of its embattled CEO up in the air. And the days are numbered for the buildings at the Jacksonville landing, with demolition expected to begin before the end of the year. Our dunes did such a great job, but they were all the way up here. And then the waves, you can see, pushed it all the way back here. And really, they said it from the get-go yesterday that flooding wasn't going to be the main concern in Lake City. It was going to be wind speed. You know, when you have to hold on to your hat, the wind is strong. She was sunbathing right over here. Now, down where you can see some tire tracks, we're told by witnesses that the vehicle bounced off the top of this sand here and then hit her below. And we are live from Foxborough. It is finally game day, Gina. Should we do it?
Okay, ready?
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
Duval. We need to work on
good.
that. Some council members like Schellenberg and Gulliford say they could net $5 billion from selling the electric side of JEA. Other council members like Crescent-Binney say fat chance. Happy 4th of July, everyone. I made a last-minute hat choice. I hope it's not too bold. These are all part of their training today, and we even have the master notes from the director. And these are top secret. I'm just kidding, not really. She's actually over here and she's gonna tell us a little bit about it. No broken legs on this river walk. Just make sure you wear your helmet. It's been a busy morning and we have a live DJ Brainwreck in our studio. He's been playing for us all morning.
Hello.
And it's been amazing. I had tried to, what's it called?
Scratch the record.
Scratch the record, and I failed. We'll leave it up to him.
You're gonna get another shot at it, of course, and we're gonna check it.
I can't even read this line, but the Patriots are going to win allegedly. That's according to a giraffe named Sky at the Blank Park Zoo in Des Moines, Iowa. Can I pick the Chiefs for the next Super Bowl?
Sure.
Well, now it says 70. So
Well, you've been moving around a lot, and then you also dropped it over there, so it may have busted the arguably one of the only thermometers in here in the Weather Center.
Yes, that's true. Merry Christmas. I'm Shelby Danielsen. Thanks for waking up with us. We love tracking Santa. Of course, he's the big story this morning, along with holiday. A local man charged with animal cruelty when police found one emaciated dog. And we do want to reiterate from that breaking news that we've been following all morning, an abduction. The woman in the abduction was just found. Police cars line it all the way down. At least 2 crime scene vans are here. Medical examiner is on scene. And it's over here to these woods, these dense woods over here. If we walk closer to this crime tape here, this street, next street over from where we are, it's Connolly and 13th. Now that's where we believe this was taking place. She said she is okay, but visibly still shaken up. You can see behind me, the last of the fire trucks are making their way out after a fast-moving wildfire here in Keystone Heights took over at least 30 acres. And we're actually talking to Mo Miller here. They noticed this laundry out here like this late Saturday night after they heard a loud bang. This mother was frantically running back and forth and running in circles, yelling for help, holding a little baby. These 2 sailors watched it all unfold through their front windshield. And tonight we are learning new details about those remains uncovered in Alabama. Different story in St. Augustine right now. See just how deep it is. Imagine moving into your dream home only to discover it was a nightmare. So I'm going to make my way down to his home to see how difficult it is to get there, and I'm going to take you with me. It literally can function just like a smartphone, but one family says it's not so smart itself. The high estimate of sea level rise would be 9 feet. Look behind me right now across the street. This is unfolding. I'm going to get out of the way. Her daughter was inside. Did you see her cross the street, ma'am?
I saw her across the street, yes.
So she's okay.
She okay.
Transition team.
Are you really going to ask a question about if he goes to church with me? What does going to church with me have anything to do with public policy or business?
My question was, do you feel like your personal relationship is a conflict of interest?
No.
City council members brought me the concern. I think in fairness, I was just bringing it to you to get your response. Do you think it would have been a bad idea to disband it?
Look, they set up committees on any given day. I think the council president set up a committee on parks at the beginning.
I know, but JEA is the biggest asset.
I don't.
What do you have to say about the license plate report that you denied making? So you didn't have red light tickets?
No, I did not.
You said it in the police report.
I said that my tag was stolen, not red light, some pass.
Okay. I mean, do you want to see the report?
It's not.
How do you know for a fact that it was from the store?
I don't know. knew exactly what I wanted to do my whole life.
And the real push was 9/11.
Every kid aspires to one day be that ultimate fireman.
They are the real-life versions of superheroes. Their goal? To rescue.
You hear about them. Hey, this one, you know, he's having issues, he's having problems. Next thing you know, they're gone.
But a hero's job is never easy.
We all feel it when a brother kills themselves because we could see how that could go, a person could go that direction.
A study conducted in 2017 found 103 firefighters died by suicide that year. 93 died in the line of duty. But researchers believe only 40% of firefighter suicides are formally reported, which means it would have been twice that number. More recent studies echo those findings, saying firefighter suicides greatly outnumber deaths on the job and suggest symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder have a direct correlation.
Oh, thank Jesus. Thank you, God.
For decades, PTSD in a first responder was never equated with PTSD in a soldier, even though the Department of Defense used to train service members with Jacksonville firefighters to experience what a battlefield would be like.
They were sending their medics here to be exposed to gunshot wounds and the things they were doing. Right then, it ought to have been a clue.
Sometimes it feels exactly like a battlefield.
I remember hearing somebody over my shoulder said, "My God, it's like being back in Nam."
Philip Eddins, now a retired battalion chief, vividly recalls working the GMAC mass shooting in 1990.
We're the first in at the Bay Meadows massacre, and the captain that made the decisions I saw him age 10 years in a year making that, and yeah, it still goes with you.
With more than 30 years on the job, Eddins experienced his fair share of traumatic events, including the death of his friend and comrade, Lieutenant Joseph Stitchway.
May 25th of this year, 40 years ago, he fell to his death. We were together in a barge fire downtown.
For Rick Carlson, it's the smallest victims who bring the biggest heartache.
For me personally, it usually involves small children.
Some memories are too difficult to talk about.
I would like people to understand that things aren't always the way they appear. And if I had to use one example, I'll have to pass for a minute.
Carlson says they often try to deal with their emotions by talking or even joking about something unrelated. And because that's been perceived poorly in the past, he wants to set the record straight.
Do you think anyone was laughing at a kid dying? This is how they deal with it.
We see it like a wave.
For Chuck Baldwin, it's not just one incident, but the repetition of incidents.
Now, I don't think that the normal person walking down the street thinks about death all the time. We see it all the time.
Firefighter Association President Randy Wise says a single moment can linger a lifetime.
Walking into a room and seeing, 6, 7, 8 people shot, dead, having to make those decisions. Who are you going to treat? I mean, you're literally pronouncing people dead so you can get to the people that are viable to save.
There's a reason these firefighters want to speak out.
I think the older generation was suck it up buttercup. That was a term that they used to use.
They hope to inspire a new generation of firefighters to be open and honest.
We like to say, I got your back. And it's true, we did. We got each other's back. No matter what, we got it.
Shelby Danielsen with photojournalist Nick Marone, First Coast News on your side.
The magnitude of this case demanded that it be solved.
It was literally just terrifying.
First of all, my daughter must have been a very brave girl at that moment. And she probably fought him off. I left for vacation and gave her a kiss goodbye.
That was the first time Diane Stein left her daughter home alone overnight. It was the last time she ever saw her.
This is one of the situations where they call you in the middle of the night and give you the news that your daughter has just been murdered.
She was in Mexico with other family when that call came in.
I want to go home and help my daughter, but she's not alive. But that's the first thing a mother thinks. Oh, I want to go home real quick.
3,000 miles away, she was helpless.
I cried all the way home.
Janelle was her firstborn, just 18 years old at the time.
She was happy, finally.
Do you know what she wanted to do?
She didn't talk to me yet. We got robbed of all those things. I robbed my daughter of her sister sharing their children in life.
Diane can remember strange phone calls in the weeks before the murder.
He did it in a child's voice that was some kid just fooling around. And he would say, "I'm gonna kill you," in a low but almost childish voice on the phone.
Decades later, with phone records from other victims, investigators believe it was the Golden State Killer.
He usually watches people for a little while. He got in through my slider.
Was it locked?
I thought it was, but she had just called a friend and heard a noise.
Janelle was found by their realtor the next evening.
Walked in with somebody to show the house. He found her on the bed, dead.
Officers say she was bludgeoned to death in their Irvine, California home.
He tied him up with marine knots and laid him there and raped him and did whatever he wanted to do to him.
After 40 years on the run, Joseph D'Angelo was arrested.
Someday maybe we'll get a chance to talk to him, and I'd like to ask him, why did he pick my house? I guess this is all Mother's idea of sadness. But she still lives. She still lives on in the story.
Tonight, James Daly will fall asleep in a cell on Florida's death row, just as he has for the last 32 years. He's convicted of first-degree murder in the death of teenager Shelby Boggio. He and his attorneys claim the conviction is based on false testimony and should be overturned. And then there's the other man, Jack Piercy. Piercy was convicted by jury just as Daly was for Boggio's murder in 1987, but instead of death row, he was sentenced to life in prison. It wasn't until after that trial did he admit to being the lone killer in this affidavit submitted to a judge, where he said Daly wasn't with him when he murdered Boggio, and that he'd be willing to testify. Advocates insist the state is at risk of killing an innocent man. Meanwhile, the family believes both men are guilty of murder.
You know what goes on the death certificate when a man gets executed as cause of death? Homicide. Homicide. The state has committed homicide by killing this person, guilty or innocent.
On November 7th, that would have been the fate of James Daly. But he was just granted a 90-day extension by the governor to allow his new federal attorneys time to review the case. Family and friends breathed a sigh of relief for the war veteran. Before prison, Daly served 4 tours in Korea and Vietnam.
be proposed to be executed 3 days before Veterans Day, you know, it's our prayer that that maybe was one of the red flags that brought some attention to his case.
Deacon Corky Hecht is the director of prison ministry for the Diocese of St. Augustine.
I'm proud to say I'm his friend.
Working with inmates on death row prohibits him from discussing the specifics of any case, but he believes Daley is innocent.
How are we going to be at peace if we have killed an innocent man?
Dale Resinella is an attorney turned death row chaplain and a world-renowned author on the death penalty.
I believe he's innocent based on everything that I've been able to experience and to read.
Resinella has spent 21 years counseling on death row, so he knows Daley personally.
We've had 29 people exonerated on death row. In fact, the question is whether Jim Daley is going to be our 100th execution since 1976 or our 30th exoneration since 1976.
According to court records, Daley's attorneys claim prosecutors committed dozens of errors, including withholding evidence, presenting false testimony, and erroneous jury instructions. Daley's alleged confession is based on testimony from jailhouse snitches who received consideration in their own cases, according to his legal team, while other inmates said Daley denied any participation in Boggio's death and maintained his innocence. They offered to testify, but were never asked.
U.S. Supreme Court justices told us in a written opinion over a decade ago, if you have the death penalty, you will execute innocent people because the criminal justice system makes mistakes.
Bishop Felipe Estevez of the St. Augustine Diocese visited Daley just hours after a judge pushed back his execution date.
He's very serene. You could see he's a man without shame or guilt, a man at peace and with a lot of hope that he may be found innocent.
Florida leads the nation in death row exonerations.
We need to be sensitive to the pain of the victim's family, but we don't think that by killing anyone would bring the beloved back into life. So in a way, this does not solve that pain.
The victim's family disagrees.
An eye for an eye.
They believe Daley's execution will be justice served, and they plan to travel to Stark, Florida to witness it.
And him being a veteran has nothing to do with this crime. He committed it. He did it. He's tormented us for 34 years.
Andrea Boggio is the victim's cousin and one of her few surviving relatives.
Never got to see it through to the justice. They passed away. So it's up to us members that are left to do this for them. It needs to end. We need justice. Her life needed to matter. She was only 14.
The delay on Daley's execution will expire December 30th. Boggio is counting down the days.
It's not fair that this guy keeps getting chances. He's on death row for a reason.
She says Shelley's father, Frank Boggio, would have wanted them to keep fighting for justice.
He would be proud of his family for seeing this through, and he deserves that.
Shelly Boggio has one surviving sister. She sent us her thoughts in a lengthy letter. You can read that in full, plus what's next in this case on our website. For First Coast News, I'm Shelby Danielsen, on your side.